There is something deeply rotten at the heart of Little Nightmares 2, an impressive unpleasantness that sticks to you long after you walk away from this strange, eerie world and its twisted characters. I'm saying this is a good thing, by the way, as this bizarre, childlike horror game is quite literally nightmare fuel. Somehow, without any gore or jump scares, everything just feels wrong. It's things like the leering face of the teacher whose head chases you on an endlessly uncoiling neck, or the doctor that scurries across the ceiling, occasionally dropping down to check his patients below. There are moments where it feels like you could have had this dream, which could be why it feels so cloyingly sinister. While other horror games can be described with words like shock and terror, this is probably best summed up by the word seeps. Continuing on from the previous game, this is a sorta 2.5D puzzle platformer starring a tiny weird child called Mono, joined by Six, the original game's star, as a companion this time. Together they navigate a strange city for reasons that are never entirely clear but also don't really matter. It's an experience made of discrete moments contained by the buildings they pass through, with an almost short story feel to the sections defined by some sort of ruling monster whose character or purpose permeates their domain. As I mentioned before, there's rarely anything obviously terrible on display, but Tarsier Studios just gets fucking horrible as a concept at an impressively fundamental level. The rubberneck teacher rules over a school of horrible plastic doll children with cracked open hollow heads. They screech and they swarm over everything like safari park monkeys destroying a car. Sometimes you fight these child dolls, cracking their heads open like eggshells with a hammer you can barely lift. Elsewhere, there are juddery mannequin people made of mismatched prosthetic limbs that creak and lunge in the dark, but can't move in the light, leaving you wildly swinging a torch beam around to hold them back. All of this gradual, insidious descent into madness is aided by some superb atmosphere and world design. Each level is full of character, and just exploring is rewarding in its own right thanks to the craft that goes into expressing the personality of any given area. Even the camera work adds to the horror, tilting and leaning drunkenly in places, almost imperceptibly at times, but enough to foster a sense of unease. Chases, threats and reveals push and pull angles in and out of the screen to articulate danger and attention in different ways. That said, while the dramatic framing is great, Little Nightmares 2 does suffer from the same gameplay camera issues as the previous game. That 2.5D side-on view makes some jumps and corners a fluffy and imprecise hit-or-miss affair. Again, like the last game, the controls lack the reactive precision the game occasionally needs. Some moments arrive as spectacular set pieces but quickly become muscle memory loops as you try and hit the perfection required to complete them. There's a couple of chase sequences that require an almost racetrack level of cornering precision to survive. One of the late stage boss fights has a holy shit what level of impact when it's first revealed, but soon turns into a joyless loop of playing the same few seconds over and over again, trying to save off the thousandths of a second you need to win. It also loops are increasingly difficult permutations and actively contributed to me reducing the score. There's so much I love in this game that I was muttering maybe it's a 9 for most of my playthrough, but that one boss fight put an end to it. Like the last game, it also has moments where it just straight up kills you without warning, leaving you to basically die in order to learn that there's a threat ahead. A good example are lethal buckets of scrap that swing down from the ceiling. The first one will kill you, so you avoid it by moving to one side, and then the second one has an extra bucket in the place you move to. There's a door as well that immediately drops something on you and kills you when you open it, so that you will absolutely never see coming. There's just such a varying mix of excellence and frustration at times. I genuinely love this game and I want people to play it, but I'm also aware that the camera can suck, there are insta-kill bits, and the controls aren't always as good as they need to be. But even with these problems, it's probably already one of my game of the years. When it gets stuff right, it is excellent, filled with puzzles and ideas that are so clever and well done. The mannequins are probably some of the best video game horror monsters I've encountered in ages, and when Little Nightmares 2 takes the horror gloves off, it is up there with the best. I would love to see what Tarsier Studios would do with Silent Hill. And when it's not trying to scar you for life, there's even some lovely little touches with Six. She's far more than just an NPC to help you climb walls, there's a real personality there. If you carry something for a puzzle or throw an object, she'll join in. She doesn't really help all that much, but the fact that she tries makes you care all about her. You can even hold hands with her as you explore. It has little gameplay use, you'll just want to. The first 3/4 or so of Little Nightmares 2 are packed with enough creative pops of brilliance and an amazing malevolent character that it outweighs all the issues. They're frustrating but surmountable, with exceptional moments more than enough reward for pushing through. The only reason I'm not making the score any higher is that the final act lacks any sort of character, as high as the bar set by the previous acts. After the excellent opening hours, the conclusion is fine. There are some good puzzles and things to take in, it just lacks the punch of a memorable monster compared to the earlier encounters. Even without a really impactful ending though, there's still a great, creepy, weird and memorable game here with moments that will bother you long after it's done. I give it 4 out of 5 stars.